Hello and welcome to my channel. This is actually the first video that I'll be making and uploading to this channel. So sit back, watch along as I play, and we'll kind of go from there, okay? So this game is called Endless Sky. It's available on Steam. If I remember correctly, it was actually free to download and to play. It's a top-down, two-dimensional kind of space exploration and combat game. As you can see here, I already have a couple of profiles, or game profiles created, but for this series, I'm going to go ahead and create a new profile, just so that we can go through this entire thing together. So basically, this is the intro to the game. Basically what it's saying, or you can go ahead and pause the video here and read this, or you can go ahead and listen to the explanation as well. So this is an introduction. Basically, my character, or the player character, is buying their first spaceship. Quick thing. This is a game set in the distant future. By this point, humanity has spread throughout the stars of the Milky Way galaxy, and it, along with being an exploration and combat game, you can also use an economic or mercantile game system, and that'll come in handy whenever you're trying to buy new equipment or new ships. So, getting back to the explanation, the pilot is buying their first ship. So this picture and the explanation is I'm at a bank. I'm basically signing a loan. They're going to be giving me 480,000 credits. And it says it needs to be repaid over the course of 1 year. The daily interest is 0.4%. And it says here that I'll need to make a daily payment of 2,503 credits. That, of course, will go down over time as I pay off more of my debt. And it says here that by the end of the year, I'll have paid 434,000 credits in interest alone. So that's almost twice the original amount of money that I'm actually getting from the bank, so that's a pretty good deal for them. So I'm going to go ahead and enter a name here. I'm going to go with Miles for the first name and Ellison for the last, or Lyson, Ellison, whatever. I got the first name from just an online random name generator, and the last name I took from the name of a series of ships that I have on one of my other profiles. It just showed up randomly in the game. I liked it, and I just chose to keep it. I actually ended up creating a series of titles, of ship titles with that name in the theme. I'll probably continue on to do that later on as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now I'm leaving the bank and I'm going to the shipyard to buy my ship. So these are the 3 ships that are available to starting players. There's a transport, which is a shuttle. It has all of these specs. It's got 1 required crew, that's me, the pilot, an additional 5 berths for passengers or extra crew if I choose to hire some. It's going to cost me 349,000 credits. Let's see. It's got 400 units of fuel. So in this game, travel between star systems is using a faster than light travel system, otherwise it wouldn't be that much fun to play, probably. And in order to initiate each jump, you have to have at least 100 units of fuel. So this would be good for about 4 jumps. And then I would have to land on either a planet or a space station and refuel my ship. So let's take a look at what other options are available to me. So there's also a light freighter that's available. It'll cost 401,000 credits. It has a fuel capacity of 300 units, so that's 3 jumps. It only has 3 crew compartments, so 1 is obviously taken up by me, which means I'll only have 2 left for possible passengers or extra crew. And then the last one here is the Interceptor class. It's a Sparrow, or it's a Sparrow class of an Interceptor type. It'll cost me 448,000 credits. It's a little interesting that it's more than the freighter. I guess maybe the government in this game doesn't want me with too much firepower starting out. So it's also got 300 fuel capacity. Strangely enough, even though it's a small fighter craft kind of thing, it actually has 2 seats, so I can actually carry someone along with me. I forgot to mention this with the other ships, but the cargo space on this is 15 tons. The freighter has 50. You would expect that to be higher, and then the cargo space on the shuttle is 20. So every other profile that I've made, I've gone with the transport shuttle, just because it's a balance between cargo capacity and the amount of berths you have. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one again. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. Now we can give the ship a name. I'm going to call this the Adventure. Or I could just choose a random name through a name generator, but let's go ahead and call it the Adventure. Okay, so this is my ship. This over here shows you the number of ships. Starting out, you only get 1, but you can accumulate ships later on, either through purchasing them at a shipyard, or interestingly enough, during combat, if you can disable a ship, you can actually board it and fight the crew of that ship. And there are certain elements that you can use to improve both your defense and your attack during those ship-to-ship combat scenarios. If you end up completely wiping out the other crew, unfortunately you have to kill them all. There doesn't seem to be a game dynamic where they'll surrender. Although, to be fair, most of the ships that you'll end up fighting are pirates, so they kind of live by a do or die kind of code. But once you clear out the enemy crew, you can actually attempt to, well, that will be the attempt once you completely eliminate the enemy crew. If you have enough crew on your ship, you can transfer them over and take control of that ship, so you can add it to your fleet. I like to do that. It's kind of hard starting out, and once you get a fleet that's either too large or too powerful in its weaponry, they tend to just obliterate anything that's fighting them, unless it's a really large, well-armed and defended ship, which has its own drawbacks, because those are, again, well armed and well defended, so they're hard to take out, but they also have large crew complements, so you're likely to lose a lot of people just trying to take the ship. So that's always fun. There's kind of a mid-range in between those two extremes where you're just in the perfect position to knock out a ship and be able to capture it. But enough about that. I can explain more of that later on. Let's go ahead and leave. Okay, so there are 3 different ways to play this game, at least in my opinion. The first is through a kind of story mode. by going to the spaceports on specific planets, you uncover more of the story. Usually it's done by doing missions. And as you progress through the story, or through the missions, more and more of the story is unlocked and playable. And then the second way is that you can go a purely exploratory route, and that way you just kind of muck about the galaxy, not really doing anything specifically unless you want to. And then the third one is a combination of the two. That's my preference. I do like the story. The first time I played through it, I didn't get to do everything, so I kind of went back a couple more times, uncovered little more pieces here and there, and they turned out to be really interesting. So I want to play through the story again, just not only for my own benefit, but for whoever's watching along with this. And then that would also be in addition to mucking around the galaxy, doing whatever I want. I'd like to balance the two as much as I can. Because the story missions, yeah, they can be good, but they're not really cost effective by themselves. You will get paid a bit for completing missions, but the true money is in that economic/mercantile system where you trade goods between systems, and that's how you make a profit. Early on, it's really important for paying off that debt you have, and later on, that's going to be even more important for collecting enough resources and money to pay for new ships and new equipment. Excuse my voice, seems to be getting a little scratchy. Maybe I should drink some water here at some point. Okay, so the first story is you can go ahead and read this by yourself. You can go ahead and pause the video. I'm not going to read it to you. I probably won't be doing that later on, unless it's something really important or I think it'll be interesting. So you can go ahead and pause the video at these points and read it for yourself if you want to, or you can just go ahead and keep listening. So I'm talking to a dock worker, or the owner of the shipyard, apparently. Oh no, I stand corrected. That was who I gave the money to for the ship. Right now I'm talking to an old man in grease-stained coveralls who apparently just walked up to my ship. And then nothing quite like buying your very first starship, he says. And then I have a couple of different options for responses. Number 3 is a little rude. Don't want to do that. I mean, number 2 is okay, although it does sound a little pretentious. I mean, that automatically assumes that you're going to make enough money to pay off your debt and then have enough to be getting a better ship in a little bit. It doesn't seem so likely. I mean, it's possible, but you're going to have to be working your butt off to do that. So I'm going to go with the first one. Yeah, I'm still in kind of shock over how much I spent. It seems pretty realistic of what someone buying their first ship would say. So I'm going to go with that. I know the feeling, the crime, how much interest the banks charge the first time. You can say that again. I mean, making almost twice the amount of money. It's been that way ever since when I first started out. So I ask your captain, and then he says was. Apparently he sold off his fleet. So he's retiring, that's why. Okay, so he's offering to kind of give me an apprenticeship, it seems, in exchange for some money, as well as a ride to a destination. So I have 2 options here. I know from past experience that the first one will be the kind of apprenticeship period. He'll give me tips, explain how to do different things. and that can be useful. So that's what I'm going to do. But the other option is to figure it out all on my own, just for the sake of the story and interest. I'm going to go with the first option. Okay, so he's already got a retirement home in mind, but he doesn't have a specific route that he wants to follow to get there. So he's asking me for a lift to this planet called New Greenland. Apparently it's only one hyperspace jump away from here, and he's going to mark it on my map already. Okay, so sounds good. So his name is James, and this is my name, Miles Ellison, and I'm officially Captain Ellison now because I have my own ship and I'm the only crew member, so that automatically makes me the captain. And then he's giving me some tips here. He's telling me to go over to the trading center, to the trading post, to buy supplies that I could sell on New Greenland, and then he's giving me another tip to take the medical goods. Apparently those will make for a good profit on New Greenland. Or I can go to the outfitter. That's basically where you buy new equipment and supplies for your ship. But since I don't really have any money right now, and they're not going to have a great selection on a backwater world like this, I'm going to go ahead and say done. I'm going to go here to the shipyard, again showing me the ships I currently have in my fleet and the available ships for sale at this specific shipyard. Here's the outfitter, showing you all the different possibilities of equipment you can use to improve your ships. Hire crew. I can add more crew to my fleet. So the flagship is the ship you currently have selected. I can go ahead and open up a list of all the ships I have. Since I only have one, the top slot is whatever ship is in the top slot is automatically your flagship. So of course in this case that's the shuttle. And then here are all the stats for each ship. And then depart will it'll basically have me lift off from the planet and enter the surrounding stellar system. And then if I want to jump to another stellar system, I'll have to orient my ship along the hyper path and jump, initiate the jump. Coming over here to the spaceport, a recent update added these little quotes from NPCs. Then there's just a quick description of the spaceport itself. And then here, coming to the bank, this is the current debt I owe. So here it shows you how much money you'll pay every day. Here it shows you the total amount you still have left and then the interest on that. This shows you the length of that loan, and then here you can pay more than the daily amount if you have the credits to spare. So coming here to the job board, it automatically opens up the Galactic Map. This is the stellar system I'm currently in. It's called Rutilicus, I think. Not sure how to properly pronounce most of these names, so bear with me. The planet I'm actually currently on is called, where is it? I don't think the name is visible at this point, but I know it's called, I believe it's New Boston. It's basically a backwater farming planet. You can see here superimposed on the map the name, the dirt belt. So the galaxy is divided into different regions, and those names are largely based on the economic or political conditions of the region. The dirt belt is made up of primarily pretty poor agricultural worlds that don't really have much economic or political power. Of course, Sol is the scientific name for the sun. This is our home system, which we are currently living in. So this is where you'll find Earth, Mars, and the rest of the planets that make up the solar system. And then there are other star systems out here, and this is the rim. I know from experience that this is going to be one of the galactic arms that extends out from the core. And then here's the south, which doesn't fully make up another arm, but it basically makes up the southern portion of human colonized space. So let's go ahead and head to New Greenland, which is in the Arcturus system. So we'll go ahead and select this. This little blue indicator shows missions that I already have in this system. If I click on it and I only have a blue marker here, it'll automatically take me to the mission, and here's a description of that mission in that system. This shows how much cargo space I currently have available, the number of passenger bunks, and the current date. Since I already accepted the mission, I don't have this option anymore, but I could always choose to cancel it. Unfortunately, with story missions, if you accidentally cancel a mission, you can't get it back unless you load a previous save of the profile. Or at least that's the only way I know how to do it currently. Maybe there's another way that I've never really figured out. But we can get to that later. So you can see all of these little orange or yellow markers. These indicate available missions in those solar system, or stellar systems, I should say. So I'm going to take a little detour here to explain the reason why I'm using solar system for only this system and why I'm referring to the others as stellar systems. So in my day-to-day life for my job, I'm actually currently studying to be an astrophysicist. So I can provide a little background for this. I'll probably occasionally use either astronomical or physics terms when describing something that I think could use some info to help you better understand what we're looking at. So I'll just give the best explanation using that background I have. So the term solar system is actually based on the scientific term for our star, which is the Latin name. It's called Sol. That's where you get solar system. The Latin term for star is stella, which is where the term stellar system comes from. So all systems that have a star in them are stellar systems, but only one, the one with Sol at the center, is called the solar system. So all stars are part of the stellar system, but only one is part of the solar system. Sol is a stellar system, but we just refer to it as the solar system for in our common everyday life. I don't know how many people are actually aware of this fact, but I just find it pretty interesting, and I included it here as kind of a little fun, I guess, piece of information. So you can see that these other stellar systems are kind of just floating out there, and you can see here that these lines are connected to these other stellar systems. And then you can see this circle here. So this circle represents the furthest extent that my ship's sensors can get information from. And these lines indicate the star systems that I can jump directly to. These only appear once. These lines will only appear for other systems once I jump to a system that's connected to the system that I'm trying to get to. So all of these missions out here that are available aren't really realistically available right now because I don't have a way. I don't know of a way to get to each of the systems, so I'm going to go ahead and ignore these missions for now and focus on the storyline. So we're going to go ahead and head to Arcturus. Down here you have little tabs that open up the relevant information. So I'm going to go to the port. So you can see, well, over here, once I've explored the system, once I've entered it, a little map of the system will appear, and it'll show the number of stars and then the planets and objects orbiting it. So there's kind of a rating system here. This is more of a political rating. You can see here that the blues are for friendly, orange to red is hostile, yellow is restricted. There are two reasons why a system might be restricted. The first is they require a payment, basically a permit for you to land on that planet. The other is you're banned from it for some reason. I've never actually seen a green system. It says here I'm dominating that system. I do know from, I believe it was reading a forum that I went to look for some other information, but apparently there is the possibility to conquer star systems. I don't think I've ever actually seen that a way to do that. So maybe we'll learn that as we're playing through this. And then here, this lighter gray depicts an uninhabited system. So that's basically a system that has no human presence in it. And then this dark gray, which is barely visible in this box, shows the unexplored systems. So everything besides this one system is unexplored. That's why they're all gray right now. Over here, it'll show the political faction that controls the system. So if I click here, it shows that this system is controlled by the Republic. That's the dominant political faction here in human space. And you can probably infer that by using the term human space that there are other portions of the galaxy not controlled by humans. And that was really interesting and fun to learn about when I was, well, every time that I've been playing through, because you always learn a little bit of information every time. That's largely due, in fact, to this is an incomplete game. It has periodic updates not only from the developers, but also from independent sources who play the game and actually include their own material as part of the game. They can create their own code, and that can relate to little descriptions or those like quotes or stuff. I do know that the entire galaxy is not mapped yet. There are regions that have nothing there and are inaccessible as of the last time I've played. And actually, as I've been playing through different updates, two other regions have appeared that you can explore, and that was really cool for me because I really like exploring and going to all these new places. That's probably and it's probably related to me being a scientist and an explorer. I like to learn stuff, so that's always cool. Hopefully later on we'll eventually get to a fully mapped galaxy, and I think that would be personally awesome. I'm not knowledgeable enough to add anything to this game, but if you want to, if you think that's something interesting and that you want to take a look at, I'm not quite sure how you can do that, but I'm pretty sure you can look it up, and it shouldn't be too difficult, considering how large of a community plays this game. So getting back to the game dynamics, over here is the list of different goods you can buy and sell between systems. Because I haven't explored this system yet, I don't have prices for each of these commodities. Once I go to that system, these will change to numbers showing the price of said commodity in that system. And if you know the price of a good in a different system that you're planning to go to, and you've explored that system already, it will indicate whether you're going to make a profit or lose money by trading a specific good between those systems. So that's a really useful tool to get to know and to be familiar with. So enough about that. Let's go ahead and select that. Since I don't know any of these, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and follow that tip that James gave me. I'm going to, he said it was the medical equipment. So here it shows you the price per ton of each commodity, and then it shows you a price range. So the medical is inexpensive in this system. And then here I can buy each ton, or 1 ton of each commodity. So the larger ships, especially the freighters, have a lot of tonnage capacity, so it can be really tedious clicking buy and sell at the rate of 1 ton per each click. So you can actually choose to either do 20, 5, and then obviously 1, or 100 of each ton. So, and then there's also down here, fortunately it's cut off by the by my toolbar here, there's a buy all option and a sell all. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the medical supplies. I'm gonna go ahead and buy all, so I no longer have any free space, free tonnage, and this is the amount of supplies in my storage hold, or my cargo hold. I currently have 20 tons of medical supplies. Then I can go ahead and sell it back. Because it's in the same system that I bought it, I'm not going to either make or lose any money. But if I do leave the planet and I come back immediately, there is a chance that the price will have fluctuated a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and buy back all of that. As you can see up here, if you were paying attention, I'm going to go ahead and sell this again. I revert back to the amount of money I had before I made the purchase. I'm going to buy it back again, and you can see it cost me around a little less than, what was that, 12,000 credits. So I'm going to go ahead and depart from the system. So you can see this this planet is called New Boston. It's part of the Republic faction. These are NPC ships, I believe. There are definitely other players, or other ships, but I believe that each profile of whoever plays the game is actually independent from others. So it's not like you can talk to or communicate with other players while you're playing this. But it's really interesting to have these NPC characters. And then I selected the ship, and I can cycle through all the ships that are currently in the system. Yeah, you can see one just jumped that way. There currently aren't any anymore. This one just jumped into Little Sparrow. It's called Wuja. I think that's how it's pronounced. And then you can also see down here the faction that they belong to. So they're a merchant. I know you can't really see it on my ship, but these have blue paint on them that means the ships are the merchant faction or neutral. Tend to be pirates or another hostile faction. There are other factions, for instance, the Republic ships, part of the Republic Navy. Their ships are painted orange. Pirate ships are painted red. And you'll see plenty of factions as well going on. So I'm going to go ahead and jump here. I'm going to go ahead and engage the jump. Just select something. Enter the complete machine. So you can actually see here this ship. You can see it come in like this. Yeah. So you can see it come in, but it was focusing on a target over here. So in order to keep shooting, yep, you can see here again, they actually had to do a 180 and a thrust in the opposite direction. And you can see that they're making swinging in both directions. That's what I really enjoy about this game and other space games that do it. They actually take into account some of the physics that's required for this type of star travel. Of course, faster than light travel is not currently possible, but I really like how they try to implement actual physics into the games. So you can see these little rocks that are floating around, they're basically just broken asteroids. And if I bring up the map of this system, you can see here, I've explored this system. So this little blue planet right here, that's the only inhabited planet in this system. This little green ring denotes a planet in the habitable zone. This little white dot here is the star. You can actually see there's a little planet here with a red orbital path that denotes that the planet is too hot for human settlement, or it's inhospitable for human settlement. Likely because too much heat, too much radiation coming off the parent star. And then these blue lines indicate planets that are too cold. I just realized that this little ring here is actually lighter than these darker ones, which means it's actually closer into the Goldilocks zone or the habitable zone. And that kind of differs with each star. That's based on what type of star it is and how much radiation it puts out, or how much heat is the commonly referred to factor. I mean, in order to be habitable, a planet has to have water of some sort, usually in liquid form, but it is possible to survive on a planet that has ice, water ice, because there are different other chemical forms of ice. That's getting into chemistry, which I'm not as familiar with, but this is also a really nice use of actual physics in the game. And you can actually see that these larger planets, which are probably gas giants, they have little moons orbiting them. And in some cases, in some systems, these gas giants will actually have space stations orbiting them, which you can visit. And as you're traveling around the galaxy, and if you come back to a system that you've already visited, if you pay close attention to this, you actually notice that the planets move along their orbital paths. So that's another aspect that I really like that includes actual physics. Of course, not all planets are going to follow a perfectly circular orbit like this. This is actually a very special and specific case of orbital path. Usually, most objects that are in a stable orbit around a gravitational body, they actually follow an ellipse, rather than a perfect circle. A circle is technically an ellipse, but it's a very special case. Basically, that results from a very particular relationship between the gravitational force between the orbiting body and its gravitationally dominant body, and the rate at which the orbiting body is actually traveling around the gravitationally dominant body. And again, there's a very slim margin where that relationship will produce a perfectly or almost perfectly circular orbit. So I'm going to go ahead and disengage the map again, go back to the system. So I'm going to go ahead and spin up a jump, or prepare for a jump, since I'm already directed along the jump path. I don't really have to do anything, but so I just initiated a jump, traveled to the Arcturus system. That's the system I'm currently in. You can see that the system name changed, the map has changed, and all of this information is now available. And you can see that the map was updated. So planets like these, or I should say stellar systems, will only appear on your map if they're within sensor range of a system that you've already visited, or in very special cases, if you have a mission on that planet, it will automatically tell you where that system is in relation to the system you're currently in, just giving you a basic idea of how to get to that system. So now that I've jumped to this planetary system, I'm going to go ahead and exit back out of the map. I'm going to go ahead and land. As you can see, as I approach the planet, I actually have to turn around and thrust in the direction opposite my previous travel. And I have to do it again because I overshot the planet. Okay, great. So this is a continuation of the story. If you do have a story mission that needs to be completed within the system and the planet that, or the location that you're currently landed at, it will automatically bring up a page that's related to the mission. So James, the retired captain, is congratulating me on the first trip through hyperspace. He says that he's impressed that I didn't throw up. Apparently most people do the first time. And then I ask, including you, and then he says yes, and then he spent half an hour cleaning the cabin. After that, while also hoping that the passengers that he was carrying wouldn't come out of their bunk rooms and see the mess. Says not my proudest moment, and then he pays me 10,000 credits for the journey. So apparently he's debarking from my ship. He's giving me a tip to go to the market, sell that cargo, and then if I still want to travel with him and get more tips, to meet him back in the spaceport. He's going to see that just in case I do want to continue traveling and working with him, that he'll see if he can line up any jobs for me. So it's giving me the click the spaceport button to continue this mission. I'm going to go ahead and click done. I'm going to quickly go to the trading post right here and sell off everything that I brought from New Boston. So here you can see I have medical selected. This is the price of the commodity within this system. And at this location, I can slightly differ between locations, even in the same system. That's just based on, supply and demand, basic economics. So it says here how much money I'm actually going to make for each ton of cargo that I sell. So 20 times that amount of credits, that's going to net me a pretty nice profit. So I'm going to go ahead and sell all of my cargo. and then you can see that it's a medium range priced commodity here in this system. If you remember from the previous system, it was actually a low priced commodity, like you can see here for food and clothing. That's the reason why I made that profit. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video here. It's getting pretty late, and this video has already gone on for much longer than I would have originally liked. Although I'm not too bothered by that fact, just because I got most of the basics explained, got a little bit of gameplay in, so I think that's all I really wanted to do for this first installment. I don't know when exactly I'll be continuing this gameplay and to upload new videos related to this gameplay, but it shouldn't be too long between uploads. I mean, this game doesn't require very much time to be spent on it at once. It's more of a casual kind of play when you have time kind of game, rather than something you need to allot time for. If you liked this video, go ahead and, if you want, subscribe to my channel. I know that this is technically the only video I have, but that will change in the future. I'll be continuing to add new content as time goes on. So if you're interested in just seeing more of a gameplay for this specific game, or if you're just interested in what I'll be doing in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you want, go ahead and click notifications. It's not really super important at this point. I mean, you can always just come back to my channel and check. Of course, the channel is called G Gaming, just in case you didn't know that already. I'm still working on that title. That might change in the future, so it's probably a little better if you click subscribe, at least before you leave, or before too long after leaving, just in case I change it at some point in the near future. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording. Thank you again. I'm sorry, stuttering now. Thank you to whoever is still at this point in the video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will be continuing to post new content on this channel related to this game. I will likely, at some point in the future, start to produce content for other games that I really want to play, and that'll be enjoyable. I'm just not sure which one I'll do next. If you want to play this game yourself, again, it is available on Steam. If I remember correctly, it is free to download and free to play. I'm not sure if it's available anywhere else, but I mean, if you really want to, you could probably just search for it yourself on the internet or other gaming stores. So that's officially it. I'm going to call this video. Again, thank you for joining me and for staying to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. See you at the next video.